As the coronavirus pandemic has spread across the U.S., many of us have heard a consistent message from policymakers and employers: stay home if you're sick. But for millions of Americans, staying home from work when you're sick isn't an option. 1 out of every 4 workers in the U.S., that's more than 33 million people, don't have access to paid sick leave.
There's no federally mandated paid sick leave in the United States. There's not even federally mandated sick leave in the United States.
Jacqueline Bonnet, a cleaner in Miami, says she had to forego her salary for 15 days as she stayed home in quarantine.
Sacrificio en ese gremio es bastante fuerte, bastante.
Sandra Rivera del Valle says she gave up 2 weeks' pay to self-isolate, then was laid off.
No hay trabajo. No hay trabajo en estos momentos.
An emergency relief law that went into effect in April expanded paid sick leave benefits for workers coping with coronavirus-related issues. Yet many Americans are still falling through the cracks.
Particularly these essential workers who are going to work. Some of them may be going to work not feeling their best because they have to get a check.
Some caution now is not the time to enact a permanent sick leave mandate, as employers suffer from an unparalleled economic downturn.
Employers are going to be struggling to get back to work. And the last thing we need to do is make employees more expensive.
Some states and municipalities have enacted their own sick pay policies in recent years. But why isn't there a federal requirement for paid sick leave in the U.S.? And could the coronavirus pandemic lead to a permanent change in policy? Paid sick leave allows workers to stay home when they're sick and to keep getting a paycheck during that time.
They have an opportunity to take care of their own medical needs or the needs of somebody, a dependent, a child, a partner, and not have to worry about not getting paid.
Most advanced economies have laws requiring employers to provide this benefit. In countries in Europe, for example, workers can take up to 6 months off paid for a long-term illness. Companies in China also offer paid sick leave for 6 months or more. In the U.S., it's another story.
We are alone among every other advanced economy in not having either paid sick leave or paid family and medical leave.
Robert Reich was labor secretary under President Bill Clinton. He helped implement the Family and Medical Leave Act in 1993, which provided job protection to workers to take unpaid time off for family and medical-related reasons.
We got the Family Medical Leave Act finally after 7 long years of trying to organize and mobilize and lobby for that.
The law faced opposition from groups like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who argued against federal mandates on business. President George H.W. Bush had vetoed a similar bill twice.
Part of the problem, quite frankly, was that big companies just did not want anything like it. Well, you can imagine if it's unpaid family and medical leave, that the idea of any sort of paid sick leave is not going to go down well with the powers that be.
It's very easy to say, oh gosh, paid sick leave is a wonderful benefit, everybody should have it. I don't disagree. It's a wonderful benefit and we would like everybody to have it. But is the answer telling every employer, thou shalt provide it? Or is the answer some other approach that recognizes not every employer is in a position to do this?
The cost of providing sick leave for employers averaged 42 cents per employee per hour worked as of March 2019, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
You can break it down into these very small incremental costs, but those accumulate, particularly in the small business environment where cash flow is so restricted.
Roughly 40% of employers in the U.S. also offer short-term disability insurance. This allows workers to apply to continue to receive a portion of their salary for up to 6 months if they suffer from an injury or illness. Small businesses are least likely to offer paid sick leave in the U.S. Roughly 1/3 of workers at companies with fewer than 50 employees don't have paid sick time. Bigger companies are more likely to offer the benefit, though cost is still a factor.
If one big company doesn't, then it becomes competitively difficult for any other big company to provide it, because that is obviously going to be more costly and put the company that provides it at a competitive disadvantage.
As the coronavirus pandemic has spread, many Americans have faced an impossible predicament, choosing between their health and their income. We spoke with Sandra Rivera del Valle, a 57-year-old cancer survivor who cleaned plane cabins at Orlando International Airport.
Me dio mucho miedo porque una de las cosas que dicen en la televisión personas pues que tuvieron cáncer, están más vulnerables.
Sandra's doctor told her to self-quarantine when she started to feel sick. She had no healthcare or paid sick leave during that time. When she came back to work, she was laid off, and now she doesn't know how to pay the bills.
Si no consigo dinero, me quedo en la calle con mi familia. Verdaderamente no sé lo que voy a hacer.
Lack of paid sick time especially hurts poorer Americans. Less than 1/3 of workers who make under $10.80 an hour, or those in the lowest income bracket, are guaranteed paid sick days, while almost all high-income workers are covered, according to 2019 government data. Jacqueline makes $8.56 an hour cleaning office spaces in Miami. When she was exposed to someone with coronavirus-like symptoms, she stayed home unpaid to protect her health and her family's. Now she says she's struggling to make ends meet.
Y económicamente me está afectando mucho. De verdad me está afectando mucho.
Around 40% of workers like Jacqueline and Sandra in the services industry in the U.S. do not have access to paid sick leave. Many service industry workers are now considered essential during the coronavirus pandemic. Public health experts say these workers aren't only risking their own health, they're putting others at risk too.
You can imagine somebody coughing and just spreading the illness to anybody else, so spreading the virus to somebody else.
Congress has taken some steps to try to expand paid sick leave amid the coronavirus pandemic. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which went into effect April 1st, provides up to 2 weeks' pay for workers dealing with COVID-19 issues, like the need to quarantine.
To put families first, our legislation secures paid leave with 2 weeks of paid sick leave and family and medical leave for those affected by the virus.
The policy expires at the end of the year, a provision that helped get the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on board. The business lobby had sent a letter to Congress in March, urging lawmakers not to create a federal one-size-fits-all permanent sick leave mandate.
We did support the temporary leave provisions because we saw them as temporary, we saw them as necessary for getting employees out of the workplace that had to be out of the workplace.
December 31st, 2020 will come, these benefits will end, and something else will happen. And paid sick leave shouldn't just be something we talk about when there's a pandemic in this country.
Millions of American workers are also excluded from the new law. The Labor Department issued a rule saying some small businesses with fewer than 50 employees may seek exemptions from the paid leave requirement. Companies with more than 500 employees are also exempt. In total, around 75% of Americans work for companies that qualify for exemptions from the law.
If you are an hourly worker, or if you're a contract worker, or if you are the vast majority of Americans working for either big companies and certainly small companies, you're not going to get anything.
In the absence of a federal requirement, 13 states and the District of Columbia have passed their own laws in recent years, requiring employers to guarantee paid sick leave. Catherine McLean co-authored a recent study examining the cost of these state mandates.
What we did is we looked at states before and after those policies, and we compared them with other states that did not adopt a policy.
One of the study's findings was that employees did not use all of the sick days they were allotted.
We are not seeing what we would view as excessive use of the benefit. We see 2 additional days. Most of these mandates provide up to 7.
Other research has found paid sick time increases worker productivity.
Somebody's coming to work with their full self, they're feeling 100%, they're not coming to work and not feeling well. So even though the costs may be expensive, in the long run, it helps the bottom line in terms of productivity.
The question now is whether the coronavirus pandemic might build momentum toward a permanent federal law mandating paid sick leave.
If there is a silver lining, it would be that we become more sensitive to the fact that we need paid sick leave.
Others say now's not the time for a longer-term change in policy.
We don't believe that trying to develop a broad new policy in the context of a crisis is a good idea.
Some businesses argue they won't be able to afford additional benefits as they try to rebound from the unprecedented economic downturn.
We aren't looking at the robust economy we had 2 months ago, which even in that environment, let's be clear, there were questions and concerns about how to do this and whether it should be done.
For workers like Jacqueline, a longer-term solution on sick pay would provide both peace of mind and financial relief.
Claro, se beneficia uno mucho porque primero tú estás que te van a pagar esos días que tú vas a faltar al trabajo, Ya te vas a dedicar esos 15 días y vas a pagar, no te vas a caer en gastos